My name is Anisa Kissoon. I am born and bred in London, England. My parents are from the Caribbean. My mother's Jamaican and my father's Trinidadian. I was brought up in South London. Very kind of middle-class family for a black family. My father actually returned back to Trinidad when I was about 3 years old. But I was brought up in a very bustly, very loud house. I am the youngest of 6. My older brothers are a lot older than me. They're about 15, 16 years older than me. But being the youngest and the girl of the family was quite a struggle, was quite a challenge. I was left alone, which I kind of appreciate as an adult, because I was allowed to develop, and I used to put myself into many different families because my mum was always working to keep the house, and my brothers were off, doing their thing, whether it was college, university, working, etc. So I was kind of left, alone a lot, but I used to put myself into other people's families, and it's really strange because I chose the very kind of English conservative families. But I learnt a lot. I learnt about, different people's cultures. I also put myself with another mixed family. They were part Muslim, part Christians, Pakistani and white. But they used to foster a lot of children. Although they had their own children, they used to also foster. So I used to spend a lot of time with them and learn a lot of the ethics on how to be in a family more, because my family was quite, dysfunctional, as in, don't get me wrong, I didn't have a bad childhood. My childhood was filled with wonderful, adventures, but to kind of have the role model of a family, it was, I had to kind of seek that outside my family. But I think that brought me a wealth of, knowledge and different experiences. I was brought up with Irish white families as well. So obviously my family being West Indian, we were very loud. A lot of music in our house, a lot of dancing. So yeah, my childhood was quite colourful. I went to a quite well-known school. I was always quite religious in the sense of I went to Sunday school. Most West Indian parents always sent their children to Sunday school. So every Sunday we'd get up and we'd get ready for church and we'd go out on the bus and we'd learn about the Bible. And I didn't have much of a problem with all of the stories of all the prophets and things like this. But at the age of 5, I actually decided to question the kind of head priest about Jesus, because they was trying to teach us about the Trinity, and they were trying to tell us that Jesus is God and we have to pray to him, etc. But I didn't believe them, and I actually ran away from church at the age of 5. I think this for me was the beginning of my journey, because I actually didn't feel comfortable in the Christianity that I was brought up in. But obviously I still continued to go and learn. But as a teenager, I decided to search for myself. Wasn't looking for Islam. I actually thought that Islam was a religion that was only for the Asians and Arabs. Nobody had ever tried to tell me about Islam. I knew that I had some Pakistani friends and they were Muslim, but what's that? I don't know. I went to Hyde Park Corner one day to dispute, I don't know, we wanted to talk about feminism, I think, and we wanted to try and, argue. We were quite, argumentative as teenagers. But this man, this English man, he had the biggest crowd. And we were like, why has he got this big crowd? And he was just preaching about, all the different prophets. And then he mentioned the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And this is, for me, the first time that I'd ever really heard about the Prophet Muhammad, and the fact that his message was the same as all the other prophets. And he said, how could this man 1400 years ago know about embryology, know about the two seas, know about space and all of these things if he was not only illiterate, but there was no, microscopes and telescopes. And so again, it was just, for me, common sense. This man must have been a prophet. He must have been, because the word was the same. He was coming to preach and tell us to believe in one God. This was a really big eye-opener for me. When I read in Islam now the stories of Ali, may Allah be pleased with him, I feel a really strong connection with him, because it was almost like I heard and I obeyed. I wanted to just become Muslim that day, because he left and he said, if you die in this state, then, you're going to die as a non-believer. So I was panicking, and I turned to my friend who actually, her father was Moroccan, her mother was white, but she'd converted to Islam. And I said, we've got to go home and I want to, become a Muslim. And it was insane. We just left, we got on the tube. I remember getting on the tube and going straight to her house and telling her family that, I want to convert, and they obviously had to get all the witnesses, etc. Honestly, I didn't think about things like hijab, giving up certain things, or adapting to 5 daily prayers. I just knew that in my heart, I believed that there was one God, and this religion had given me that.
But my knife's not very good, isn't it?
I think my family, they just thought that it was just another fad or another phase, because my brother, who is just a bit older than me, he's always kind of diving into different types of, religions and things like that.
This is my mum. Hello, say hi, Mum.
Hello.
Mum, can I just ask you, how was it when I became a Muslim?
A shock. Very shocked. She was born and baptized as a
Catholic or Christian?
Catholic.
Okay.
And well, when they get big, they do their own thing. Mom stay at the back. So I don't interfere with her. Whatever she wants, she do. Yeah? So I just go along with it, but I'm still...
But is it better that I'm a Muslim or not?
Well, it's quite better she be a Muslim and running around with other girls, but I say I'm a Catholic, and my family are Catholic, and she want to go that way. I said, good luck to her. It's your choice. I can't make any more choice for you. It's out of my hands now. And that's it. But and we get on fine. And I say, Assalamu alaikum. And somebody said to me, Mashallah. They said, and I said, alaikum salam. If they said to me, I said, alaikum salam. And I like that word. I like it. So that's it. The kids, they're becoming a Muslim as well. So it's their choice, a mom choice, not me. I'm the grandma. I can't say anything much because the government gave them all the rights, so I've got no more rights. Bring them as best as I can. Thank you very much. See? Okay, and I finish with my audience now.
My friends, I think they thought that it was a joke, but the thing is, in the beginning, I didn't actually really practice Islam, as in I wasn't a noticeable Muslim. I thought that back then to wear a hijab would mean to just cover your head with a bandana. So I used to have this bandana on the top of my head, but all my hair coming down, and I thought that was covering. So, you have to remember, I've been Muslim now, alhamdulillah, for 18 years. And back then, there weren't many translated books. There wasn't a lot of knowledge. We had to do a lot of research for ourselves. So there wasn't any kind of, nowadays you've got lectures, you've got workshops, you've got all this. There wasn't that back then. We were kind of finding out things for ourselves and teaching ourselves. There wasn't so much of a community in the sense of to be able to teach us. So we were kind of step by step just finding out for ourselves. I think when I got pregnant with my first daughter, that was when the big change came for me. Okay, girls, what are you doing today?
Can you choose a book, Asia? I'm gonna edit. Okay, what are you doing, okay? Are you fasting? Yeah? Can you choose a book?
The actual day I remember very clear cut with when I decided to actually start to practice Islam properly. I had a knock on my door from an old school friend. And she was actually not a school friend, and she was somebody that we saw as an outsider. She was not cool, she wasn't in the popular group, but she turned up on my door wearing the full hijab. And I then felt like our roles had reversed, because there standing in front of me was what I should be, and there's me, coming out in, I don't know what type of clothes I had on then, but so, and Islam and the hijab had elevated her. So to me, she looked like this real pious woman. And she kind of had this bit of an attitude, and I thought was quite rude, because I was thinking, do you know who I am? This is Anthea you're talking to here. But she said to me, you need to start practicing. What are you going to teach your baby? And I knew that I was having a girl as well, and I'd already named her Sophia. So I knew that I wanted her to have a clean, good Islamic upbringing. And she said, come with me. So she took me to a family in West London, and this really big, black, strong, tall brother kind of gave it to me. He told me off, and he said, you've got to change. And he really said, how are you going to teach your child? What are you going to teach your child? And I wept and I cried, because I knew what he was saying was true. And he said, come and live with us, come and stay with us. So from that point, I decided that I was going to start practicing Islam and learning. And I moved from South London to West London. And, it wasn't just me, it was some other people in the community as well. We all kind of made this exodus, left our past behind. I remember going into the club and telling everybody that you're not going to see me again. So we had this farewell party, but I had this big belly. So I was kind of saying to everybody, it's because I'm going to have a baby. But it was actually because I was going to now embrace Islam properly, So, I kind of gave up absolutely everything. I gave up my family. I gave up my friends. I gave up TV. EastEnders was a big thing in my life. I gave up TV. I completely shut off from the world, which at the time I can understand and I can see the benefits, but I wouldn't do that again, because I think it was not good for my non-Muslim family. I've got Sophia here, who's 16 now, and she's doing media. I have Ruqayya, who's doing lots of different things. She's doing some designing, and we have Asia here, who is just on the basics. She's just learning how to read and write and things like that. I decided to homeschool my children, mainly because we travel a lot around the world. But also, I believe that the classroom is the world. I remember as a child, I didn't like being constricted to just a classroom, this kind of concrete building and a desk and a chair, and I wanted to, explore, and I wanted to do things, but I wasn't able to. And I also didn't want to just learn from books. So sometimes we do follow a curriculum. I mean, there's many different things now, many different companies that follow curriculum, because there's a lot of people that homeschool. But Sometimes, I mean, if it's a good day, I'll take them out to the countryside. You know, we'll learn outside. If there's a good offer on to go abroad, we'll go abroad. So it's quite flexible. Let's read. Come on then. I know, but we're just going to read. Look, come on, let's read. Come on, ready, go. So now my family, I think, you know, after all these years, we've got a lot of Muslims in our family now who have reverted, a lot of my younger cousins, etc. And with the birth of my children, who are the firstborn Muslims in our family, like, they're very loved. So I think they know that this is to stay now. Sound it out. Yeah.
I put on this.
Good girl. This boy, this one is called Safe. The beautiful thing about Islam from a non-Muslim perspective is that when you become a Muslim, it has everything for you. So you know, you're taught how to wash, you're taught how to, you know, live your life, how to do business, how to dress, but it's all for the better, you know. So you don't have to ponder and wonder about things in life or work things out. It's kind of this complete book that is tailor-made, and if you try to the best of your ability to follow it, then, you know, you will obviously succeed. And I think that's one of the most appealing things about Islam, because we all are trying to be better citizens and better human beings, and it just gives you that, you know, code of life. A big part of my life has always been charity. As a young girl, I've always wanted to own an orphanage. But so what I do is now I kind of collect money and take it to places myself. I've been a trustee of a charity for over 10 years, and there was always a lot of arguments as to where the money's going to go and, you know, things like that. So now I actually just fundraise myself and take it there, so that I know that it is distributed, you know, properly and fairly. We went to Kenya in early 2011, and we went to the slums, and I took myself and my daughter, my brother and another sister, and we went to visit what was absolutely ridiculous conditions for any human being to live in. You'd see 3-year-old children having to fetch water and stand in queues for hours and hours because there'd be only one pump for about 1 million residents. So, you know, it was just absolutely madness. I met a remarkable woman called Mama Fozia, and she was a 60-year-old woman who had dedicated her life to looking after orphans. And you have to bear in mind that a lot of these places are not funded, so they don't have kind of other charities funding them. They just rely on any donations. So we went to visit her, and for me, it was almost like I was looking at myself in years to come, or what I would like to become, because she looked a lot like my grandma as well. So I kind of, you know, bursted into tears, and her works that she's been doing is very inspirational. She used to send food parcels with her husband in the slums, and then when her husband died, you know, she just wanted to give all of her time to looking after orphans, and now she's contracted cancer. So, you know, and all the children in that place, they call her Mama Fozia because she's like the mother for all of them. But it's a very sad situation, and at the same time very inspirational and very, you know, happy, because she's able to rescue a lot of these children. And some of these children from the other orphanages were actually found on the rubbish tip. So, you know, they don't actually know who their family is, no members of their family. And there was one boy in particular, he was actually rescued by a dog and brought, you know, to this woman. So I just found that, you know, amazing. But so that's what I like to dedicate my time to. But anything that we do, be it theatre work, or, you know, if it's health related stuff, or anything that I do, I try to include charity as a part of it, so it becomes, you know, part of everything that you do. I grew up with the stage and performing, but now I have a different edge because I'm able to tell stronger messages through my work. You know, we do stuff on all the current issues, like bullying, like women's issues, like, you know, whatever's going on in the media, we try to convey a positive message, try to inspire the youth and adults alike, try to educate, but obviously at the same time still being from that kind of fun and entertainment aspect. So from an Islamic perspective has been, you know, very, very challenging because not a lot of women are in this industry. But I find that it is a very important thing for us to be involved in because the media is huge. It has a lot of influence over the audience, and if we don't spend the time putting out positive messages, then we're missing out this gap. I mean, you know, I spent lots of years going to lectures and workshops and talks and things like that, but now with this modern technology and it moving very fast, I think not only theatre but the media in general, we need to penetrate this more, you know, so that we can play a wider role in society. So after doing our first production in a theatre in London, I was a little bit worried about the response that we'd get from the audience, but it was mind-blowing. We got 4 out of 5 reviews in a very popular magazine. I mean, we left the audience laughing and crying, so it did go well, you know, but it was very worrying because not a lot of women are, like I said, in this industry. But we did it, that particular show was for a female-only production, and I think the women needed something like this to go and, you know, let their hair down and to kind of be in an environment where they felt comfortable.